Warning, this episode contains mild to heavy explicit spoilers. Listen at your own risk.
Reviews, discussions, and theories about films in horror, sci-fi, and genre. This is the Horror Deconstruction. Like, share, and subscribe to hear more.
A young, bright-eyed woman starts her morning, a plasticine smile on her face as she practices hello in a mirror. She dolls herself up in an Elaine Bennis-esque sundress and tends to her model town, lighting up the empty streets. Her dream neighborhood, she crosses the T's and dots the I's on her homemade fashion to mail off on an Etsy-like sale. As she makes her way outside, she sees an errant circle in her otherwise normal grass. She makes her way into town, still miming a happy appearance, the dark shadow of reality casting itself upon her as neighbors avert their eyes from her. She visits her mother's grave, the last peaceful silence she will know before the night is through. This is the opening to 2023's Brian Duffield written and directed No One Will Save You, a sleek collection of science fiction horror notes compiled into a wonderfully energetic, spooky thriller. Having seen many talked-about horror films as of late, I didn't even know of the existence of this feature. Myself not a real fan of alien invasion movies, the good word on this compelled me to give it a look. Once channel host Deckard said it was actually a well-made film, I was like, okay, the praise surrounding this film must be legit. From comparisons of it being a mashup between A Quiet Place and Fire in the Sky, those films aren't incorrect. In fact, I'd add a lot more to what was surely inspiring for this film and suggest when you see it, and you should see it, if the films I list now do indeed make up the DNA of this movie. Communion, Gremlins 2, Signs, Fire in the Sky, A Quiet Place, The Strangers, Mars Attacks, Evil Dead 2, Nope, Alien, Annihilation, Invasion of the Body Snatchers. So, as we also must note, this film is done with nearly no dialogue. There might be 5 or 6 lines total in its quick hour-and-a-half runtime. It almost becomes frustrating at how this problem can be solved in the film, but hey, people need to not act normal for a story to continue. That said, the direction and story flow quite good for the fact that there's no talking in the movie, and no turning the entire film into a montage. The non-dialogue, though, feels natural because people in this film do talk, but not to our lead, and it's usually very far away and too muddled to understand. Our main character, Bryn, is played by Caitlin Dever. She is in 99% of this film, and naturally holds the entire movie in her excellent performance. From shame to curiosity to rage and fear, she checks off a multitude of acting chops without the use of language that would make Keaton and Lloyd proud. The great thing is, the silence isn't jarring. It's one of those elements where you don't even notice it until you do. I arrived at the same, oh, there's the gimmick, going on when I saw the very obscure but should be seen fake one-take Dave Bautista action or Bushwick. So let's get on with this movie. What works? Pretty much everything to a point. The solid directing, clean DP work by Aaron Morton, a great score by Joseph Trapanese. Bryn's only escape seems to be in her miniature town in the one room of her gigantic empty home. And this, including sleep, seems to be the only escape from her daily reality of a town that actively turns its collective back to her. That's the big hidden plot of this science fiction horror. The past trauma Bryn has been paying for and possibly deserves. The film is a balance of the existential threat of alien life forms destroying and overtaking everything she knows, but all she knows is a horrible incident of her youth. The characters she tends to avoid when confronted spit in her face. The letters she writes to are addressed to nowhere. It's an interesting peeling onion in the center of this fast-moving alien horror. So how are the aliens? This is my Gremlins 2 reference. Plenty and distinguishable. I'm not too crazy about CGI, which the aliens clearly are. I never really buy that they're in the same room, but with their physical activities, we're a long ways from realizing some of this with animatronics. That said, I always say yes to practical instead of CGI. There are regular greys, little monkey greys, giant spider greys doing Naruto alien beaming jutsu, spores that control humans. Nice varieties. It kept the craziness of the film to crescendoing levels. The ultimate goal of the aliens, since it's not completely spelled out, I can only guess, is to replace humans eventually with their doppelgangers after controlling their human counterparts, putting the originals in a sort of Inception-esque dreamscape they can't even escape. Without the will, of course. Bryn's tenacity for violence also makes sense when her past is revealed. It's just a smart, small story told with big effects. The classic 50s saucers with their updating suction beams. Everything simply works. Which is why this movie probably should have been theatrically released, but science fiction movies for the most part don't do well in cinema unless they're about Avatar. More people should know about this film because it's clearly one where people that made it cared. As for the wrap-up and reveal of Bryn's crime, having smashed her best friend's head in with a rock, young Bryn has become a pariah of her small town. The aliens, having spent all this time overtaking her neighbors, try to control her. She confronts her doppelganger. I assume the aliens create a double to take over for her? I'm not sure. Then why have the little spores control humans if they're going to create copies of them anyway? The aliens beam her up after she's destroyed herself, in a sense, gathering that she's had a pretty terrible existence, a scarlet letter wearer. She would probably be no threat to the brand new revamped society under alien rule. According to her town, she's already the alien, so what difference would it make? Therefore, in the finale, she finally has the community she's always wanted, dancing away as she's always practiced alone in her home, to her new reality with her new alien friends. Why aliens need to still disguise humans as they're clearly hovering in the sky, who knows? That said, it's a pretty awesome little movie you should be seeing. 8 out of 10 doing a hoedown with strangers from another galaxy. This has been the Horror Deconstruction.